Assalamu alaikum and welcome back to another episode of Deen Dharma. I'm your host, Shaima. If you're tuning in today, I want to invite you to take a deep breath, just step away from the noise of the day, the tabs open on your screen, the internal to-do list, and let's settle into the heart. Today we're talking about love, but probably not the kind of love you see in the movies or read about in romance novels. We aren't talking about love as a feeling that washes over us or a passion that sweeps us away. We're talking about love as a choice. Love as an anchor. Love as a strict, demanding, and beautiful moral compass. I came across a quote by the philosopher and novelist Iris Murdoch that completely reframed how I look at relationships, and honestly how I look at my own ego. Murdoch wrote that love is not a mere emotion, but the difficult moral capacity to see another person accurately, as they truly are, rather than a projection of our own desires or fantasies. She calls it a just and loving gaze. It's an act that requires intense attention, humbling the ego to recognize the independent reality of the other. Think about that for a second. The extremely difficult realization that something other than oneself is real. How often do we actually do that? How often do we look at our parents, our partners, our siblings, our friends, or even strangers and see them, their private sorrows, their distinct fears, their complex realities, or are we just looking at a mirror? Think about a moment at home, maybe just this week. You walk into a kitchen or you get a text from someone close to you, and their tone is sharp, cold, or completely dismissive. Instantly, our ego builds a narrative. Why are they treating me this way? What did I do wrong? They're being rude or unfair to me. The self is always at the center of the frame. We project our own insecurities or past hurts onto their bad mood, turning them into a character in our drama. But what if their coldness has nothing to do with us? What if they are carrying a heavy, silent burden from their day that they don't know how to articulate, that we haven't even asked them about? Today on Deen Dharma, we're going to bridge the profound philosophical concept with our spiritual traditions. We're going to explore the Islamic concept of Shahadah, which is bearing witness, and the Buddhist practice of ultimate compassion to challenge us to step outside of ourselves. We're going to look at what it really means to practice a realism of compassion. Let's break down what Iris Murdoch means when she talks about love, because it serves as the perfect map for our spiritual exploration today. Murdoch introduces the beautiful concept called unselfing. The human ego is a busy little thing, isn't it? It is constantly working in the background, building self-centered fantasies to project itself. It distorts our view of reality. But Murdoch says that love is the tool that shatters this frame. Unselfing is the moment the ego quiets down and reality rushes in. She gives this famous example of looking out a window. You might be brooding over something selfish, maybe a hit to your reputation or a petty grievance. You're anxious, trapped in your own mind. Suddenly, you notice a bird hovering outside. For a few seconds, everything else vanishes. The petty anxiety disappears. You are entirely focused on the independent, beautiful reality of that bird. You have unselfed. When we apply this to people, it becomes a massive moral act. Loving someone means moving beyond our mental images of them. It means having an intense attention to detail. It means saying, you are separate from me. You do not exist to fulfill my fantasy. I see you as you are, and I honor your reality. This is what Murdoch calls the realism of compassion. It's the realization that justice is impossible without this kind of love. Because if I don't see you accurately, how can I ever treat you justly? When we turn to the Deen, to Islam, this just and loving gaze isn't just a philosophical ideal. It's a divine mandate wrapped up in the concept of Shahadah, or bearing witness. We often think of Shahadah only as our declaration of faith, but linguistically and contextually in the Quran, a shaheed is a witness. To witness requires you to look. It requires your absolute presence. It requires you to lay down your biases, your desires, your ego, and to see the absolute truth in a situation. Look how beautifully the Quran binds witnessing, justice, and compassion together. In Surah An-Nisa, which is chapter 4 of the Quran, titled The Woman, verse 135, Allah commands us, Ya ayyuhalladhina amanu, kunu qawwamina bilqist, shuhada'a lillah, walau ala anfusikum, aw al-walidaini wal-aqrabin. In yakun ghaniyan aw faqiran fallahu awla bihima, fala tattabi'u al-hawa an ta'dilu. This translates to, O believers, stand firm for justice as witnesses for Allah, even if it is against yourselves, your parents, or close relatives. Be they rich or poor, Allah is best to ensure their interests. So do not let your desires cause you to deviate from justice. Think about the psychological weight of this verse. Allah is commanding us to bear witness to the truth even if it hurts us, even if it goes against our own parents or relatives. What is that if not the ultimate form of Murdoch's unselfing? To witness against your own self-interest means you've dismantled the ego entirely. You've looked at the situation and said, my narrative, my comfort, my survival, my loyalty, none of it matters more than the objective reality of the truth. And look at the nuance in Surah Al-Ma'idah, chapter 5 of the Quran, titled The Table Spread, verse 8, where Allah says, Ya ayyuhalladhina amanu kunu qawwamina lillahi shuhada'a bilqist, wa la yajri minnakum shana'anu qawmin ala alla ta'dilu, i'dilu huwa aqrabu littaqwa, wattaqullah innallaha khabirun bima ta'malun. O believers, stand firm for Allah and bear true testimony. Do not let the hatred of a people lead you to injustice. Be just. That is closer to righteousness. And be mindful of Allah. Surely Allah is all aware of what you do. When we hurt someone or when someone harms us, our ego immediately dehumanizes them. We reduce them to a caricature, the enemy, the wrongdoer. We project our anger onto them, blinding ourselves from their own humanity. But the Quran says, no, even in the face of friction, your moral compass must remain intact. You must look at them with a just gaze. You must acknowledge their rights, their boundaries, their reality, separate from your own emotional reaction to them. In Islam, this kind of justice is an act of deep spiritual devotion. It is taqwa, God consciousness in action. It is looking at the world through the lens of the divine truth rather than the human ego. It is loving the truth more than you love your own comfort. Now let's look at how this philosophy comes alive when we weave the Deen and the Dharma together. Both of these spiritual traditions give us practical maps to achieve what Iris Murdoch calls the just and loving gaze. In Buddhist psychology, there's a beautiful foundational term, Yathābhūta. It translates literally to seeing things exactly as they are, or more accurately, seeing things as they have come to be. Buddhism teaches us that the human mind is a factory of assumptions. We rarely see a person as they actually are. We see them through a thick fog of our own past conditioning, fears, and our expectations. When someone snaps at us, we don't see their exhaustion. We see it as a threat to our ego. But Yathābhūta is the practice of pulling back the curtain of projection. It is a quiet, radical discipline of the mind that asks, can I drop my storyline about this person and just witness the reality of what they are experiencing right now? And this is exactly where the Dharma shakes hands with the Deen. Because in Islam, this act of seeing things as they truly are is the very definition of Shahadah, of bearing witness. Think about the divine names of Allah, Al-Haqq, the ultimate reality, the absolute truth, and Ash-Shaheed, the omnipresent witness. When we operate entirely from our fragile, defensive egos, we are living a lie. We are distorting reality. But Islam calls us to align our sight with Al-Haqq, with truth itself. There's a profound spiritual state in our tradition called ihsan, which the Prophet Muhammad ﷺ defined as, quote, worshipping Allah as if you see Him, and if you cannot see Him, knowing that He sees you, end quote. Let's bring that down to our everyday relationships. What if ihsan is the ultimate form of Murdoch's unselfing? It means that when I look at my partner, my parent, or a frustrating colleague, I do so with the acute awareness that Al-Shahid, the divine witness, is witnessing how I witness them. My petty grievances, my assumptions, and my defensive reactions are forced to quiet down. I have to look past my ego's projections because I realize that the person standing in front of me is a sacred creation of Al-Haqq. Their reality is independent of me and it is validated by God Himself. When we bridge Yathābhūta and ihsan, love transforms from a volatile emotion into a steady moral compass. We begin to see clarity over comfort. We pause before we react. We realize that true justice is not a cold, legal verdict. It is the highest form of compassion. It is the humility to look at someone and say, I see you truly as you are, not as my ego demands you to be. Before we close our session today, I don't want us to just leave these ideas in our heads. I want us to drop them into our hearts. Wherever you are right now, unless you're driving, I invite you to close your eyes. Let's do a short, guided practice of unselfing and sacred witnessing together. Sit comfortably, drop your shoulders away from your ears, unclench your jaw, take a deep, slow breath in, feeling your chest expand, inviting space into your heart, and exhale completely, letting go of the noise, the defensive armor, and the weight of the day. Let's do that one more time. Inhale deeply, feeling the life fill your lungs, and exhale, letting your physical self settle into the absolute stillness of the present moment. Now bring your mind's eye to the person in your life with whom you've experienced a little bit of friction lately. That person where your ego has already built a neat, comfortable narrative about why they are being difficult or unfair. Visualize them standing before you. As you look at them, note the thoughts that immediately bubble up. Notice the urge to defend yourself, the sting of resentment, or the projection of your own stories onto them. Just observe these thoughts. And now imagine gently setting them aside, like wiping a fogged up window clean. Take a breath in, and as you exhale, practice seeing things as they are. Quiet the self, drop your storyline. Look at them in accordance with reality. Remember that Al-Shahid, the ultimate witness, is present. God sees them completely, and God sees you looking at them. Look past the frustrating behavior. Notice the independent reality of their life. This person has a heart that experiences fear, just like yours. They carry silent burdens, anxieties, and unsaid hurts that keep them awake at night, just like yours. They make mistakes, they get tired, and they desire to be truly seen and understood, exactly like you. In your heart, silently bear witness to their humanity. Align your sight with Al-Haqq. Say to them internally, I see you, not as I want you to be, not as you fit into my life, but as you truly are. Your reality is real. And let your chest expand with that just and loving gaze. Imagine breathing in the friction between you, dissolving it into the ocean of divine truth, and breathing out a spacious, quiet room for them to just exist, to be separate, to be real. Feel the profound moral relief with that of not needing to bend them to your will, judge them, or protect your ego from them. Just witnessing them with justice and compassion. Take one more deep, grounding breath. Feel the stillness in your heart, and when you are ready, gently open your eyes. When we bring this Iris Murdoch's philosophy into the light of the Deen and the Dharma, they speak the exact same truth. Real love is an act of courage. It is the courage to put down the mirror of your own ego and pick up a window to the world. Whether it is Allah commanding us to stand firm as witnesses for justice, even against our own selves, or the Buddhist path of Yathābhūta calling us to clear the fog of projection, or Murdoch reminding us that love is the difficult realization that someone else is real, the message is clear. Love is a moral compass, and the needle always points away from the ego. Thank you for joining me in this episode of Deen and Dharma. If this meditation or conversation resonated with you, please share it with someone you love, someone you want to witness more deeply. And until next time, keep your hearts open, your gaze just, and may peace be upon you all. Assalamu alaikum.